Hello, my name is Mauricio Giraldi. I'm the creator and designer of Eldritch Kingdom, and in this video we'll be going through the basics of dueling. Eldritch Kingdom is a trading card game taking place in a horrifying and ruined land. It presents a story influenced by Lovecraftian literature and mythos, and inspired by other great TCGs. These lands are violent, filled with horrors beyond your wildest imagination. You face no opponents, you face enemies. In Eldritch Kingdom, two players duel by using various kinds of cards to defeat their enemy by obtaining the highest overall attack points in 3 out of 5 rounds. All you need is a deck of at least 30 cards. Some rules, however, to make the duel fair. Each of the two players will require their own deck. Your deck must be 30 cards minimum to 60 cards maximum. You can only have up to 3 copies of the same card in your deck while dueling, and you can only have 1 champion card when facing your enemy. More on champion cards later. While not mandatory, it is recommended that players have a calculator or sheet of paper to keep track of their overall attack as the duel's rounds progress. When dueling against an enemy, each player has their own domain. This domain consists of a player's hand. Each player begins the duel with 20 cards. Field, where a player places their cards in order to affect either their or their enemy's overall attack points and win the round. Deck, from which a player draws cards to add to their hand or field. Your deck is placed face down. Finally, their graveyard, where destroyed or used cards are placed face up. Graveyards are public knowledge and can be reviewed by both players at any time during their turn. Since we're focusing on the basics of dueling and round progression in this video, we'll leave the intricacies of field layout, cards, and their effects for the next gameplay tutorial. In order to win a round, a player must build an overall attack larger than their enemy's. The overall attack is the current sum of all the combat cards' attack within a player's field. When a round ends, your overall attack is compared to your enemy's to determine the round's winner. A duel consists of a maximum of 5 rounds. Both players enter the duel with a deck of 30 to 60 cards. The first player to win 3 out of 5 rounds claims victory. A duel plays out in this manner. First, both players will need to determine the turn order. A coin, die, or some other method will suffice. Each player shuffles their own deck. They then exchange decks, shuffle and cut their enemy's deck, then hand their respective decks to each other face down. Both players draw 20 cards from the top of their decks. This is the player's hand. Players must manage their supply of cards and use them prudently. Players do not draw more cards from their decks at the beginning of the next round. Players can only add cards to their hand by means of card effects. Therefore, players must play conservatively, think strategically, and keep in mind that these 20 cards must last them for 5 rounds. The duel's first round begins. Players take turns in the order established in step 1. During their turn, a player has 3 possible actions to perform. Place a card in either their field or their enemy's field. Play a card from their hand or pass their turn. When a player passes their turn, they can no longer act during the round. A round comes to an end when both players run out of cards to place or play, or both players pass their turn. Let's take a moment to go through the basic keywords mentioned so far in this tutorial. Familiarizing yourself with these keywords and their in-game definitions will increase your understanding of duels, rounds, and actions. Attack. Attack points, the numeric value assigned to each combat card. Overall attack, the current sum of all the combat cards attack within your field. When a round ends, your overall attack is compared to your enemies to determine the round's winner. Place card. The action of placing a card in either field. Play card. The action of playing a card from your hand. Pass. The action of ending your turn. The player with the highest overall attack wins the round. If the round ends and both players have the same overall attack, the round is a tie and the win goes to both of them. Finally, at the end of a round, all cards in a player's field are sent to their graveyard. That's it for the basics of dueling and round progression. In the next gameplay tutorial, we'll be taking an in-depth look at the field layout, cards, and card effects. If you have any doubts or questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. Eldritch Kingdom's Chapter 1, The Tombstone Citadel, is now available on the GameCrafter, so make sure you check it out. This first chapter serves as both an introduction to the game's story, as well as the basic gameplay that will serve as the foundation to an ever-expanding set of mechanics designed to keep Eldritch Kingdom engaging and exciting. I hope you enjoyed this first gameplay tutorial. We'll meet again in these ruined lands.